Welcome to another Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization dirt road roundtable drive. We're on our way to Jarbidge, Nevada. We keep an eye on the place because of the history of Bigfoot sightings here. The Shoshone named this area Tsawhawbitts, which means Cannibal Giants. And not only did they name the area Tsawhawbitts, Cannibal Giants, but they warned each other and travelers to stay out of the area. There's giants that kidnap people and consume them in the area. Now what brings us into this area is a Bigfoot sighting over a year and a half ago by some guys hunting in the area. They claimed 3 Bigfoot harassed them and ran them out of their camp one of the nights that they were here hunting. So that brings us into the area. We're here to service game cameras that we left in the area last year. They've been here a whole year. We'll include any footage, whether it's Bigfoot or not, at the end of that so you guys can see what we captured. We'll put that at the end of this video, so make sure you watch all the way to the end.
And not only did it harass them the first night in their campsite, and that scared them so bad that they picked up camp and moved to a different campsite. It followed them to the second campsite, but it didn't give them such a hard time at the second campsite.
They were here for 9 days during their hunt, and when it chased them out of camp, they drove all the way out to a town and stayed the rest of the night until morning. And then they went and grabbed all their camping gear and they moved several miles away from the spot to a paid campsite, thinking, you know, well, if we move and we get out of the area that they're being protective of, maybe they'll leave us alone. But they state that they saw them a couple of times during their hunt, but they didn't come into their camp and harass them like they did the first time. So because of the history of the ancient Indians or Native Americans and explorers that come here looking for gold after that, there's a history of Bigfoot sightings, so we're going to keep an eye on the place. And according to several newspaper articles I have read and magazines, this is arguably one of the most remote places in the lower 48. There's only a couple of hundred people that live back here year-round in these little towns back here, Jarbidge and this little town coming up here. This is Springs, Murphy Springs is the name of this little town. Yeah, this place is so remote, and I don't know what you would call it, but this place isn't in a lot of the maps that we have. Jenny and I have a couple of maps on us, and, you know, even though we've been here 3 times, we still check our maps and everything, and none of these roads and these little towns are on our maps.
No. Well, there's only 2 towns. It's this town right here that you can see off to your left, which is Murphy's.
And we're going to drive through it.
And this is the bigger town out of the 2. This one actually has, I believe, a paved road in it. However,
is dirt right now. Yeah, the Murphy Springs, I believe this is called.
But Jarbidge is not anywhere near this big. It only has one road, and it's like 100 feet long. That's it.
Well, hey, if you blink, you're gonna miss this town.
Yeah, that was the end of that town.
We love to do these roundtable drives because we want a camera going in case we have a Bigfoot crossing. This is a nice camp spot.
Yeah.
This is the kind of the general area that one guy says he camps in, and they ride their four-wheelers. They get to one of these campsites really close here and then drive their four-wheelers all over hell.
Drive 15 miles on 3 Creek Road.
I showed you him and his wife's picture camping at Beaver Creek.
Yes.
Yeah, they want to meet up with us.
It looked nice.
They know a place in the mountains like by Burley or something like that where there's Bigfoot this and that, and want us to go camping with them and Bigfooting. Seems like a really nice guy, kind of like Clint, a cowboy.
Yeah.
We just crossed over from the Idaho border. It borders Idaho. Jarbidge used to be called Tsawhawbitts by the Shoshone Indians. In their language, it means Cannibal Giants. And in their native lore, they warned each other and travelers about this place to avoid it because there were giants that would kidnap and consume people. So the Native Americans and the early pioneers had Bigfoot sightings in here. This is a place with gold mines. There was a gold rush to this place, and it later got named Jarbidge. But about a year and a half ago, some hunters that were in here deer hunting claimed that they were chased out of their camp one night by 3 aggressive Bigfoots. So we keep an eye on the place. We keep some game cameras in here that we're here to service. So watch our video to the end if you want to see whatever it is we capture on those game cameras. But we will keep a camera rolling on our drive in and out of here in case we get lucky enough to get a Bigfoot cross in front of us. Road crossing sighting is the largest percent of Bigfoot sightings that are reported. So it really makes sense when you're in these Bigfoot sighting hotspots to keep a camera rolling. Got Jenny with me, by the way.
The first time we were here, I was so surprised that there was actually a place like this in Nevada. I didn't know that there was a wildernessy type place in Nevada. I'm sure there's quite a few, but this is my first time being in a wilderness type place in Nevada.
There's a lot of newspaper articles and magazine articles that argue that Jarbidge is one of the most remote places in the lower 48. It's away from major towns, major cities. By the way, we know from experience, this is our third time back in here Bigfooting. There's no cell phone reception back in here.
No.
Yeah, so if you ever come here Bigfooting, don't plan on having Wi-Fi or cell phone.
And it's quite a lengthy drive in on a dirt road even to get here. There is no paved roads.
Yeah, there's close to 50 miles of dirt road that you have to travel to get to where we're servicing our game camera.
We're crossing what's called the Jarbidge River right now. It's just really pretty back in here. Lots of awesome rock formations.
A lot of fishermen and a lot of hunters like to come out here and do their thing.
There's a lot of deer here. The first time we camped here, we had an experience in the middle of the night where things were running through our camp and banging into our...
Brushing up against our tents.
Banging into our kitchen, jumping over stuff, tipping things over. It scared the life out of me. And we had a game cam set up all around our tent. And when Kelly checked our game cam videos, it was a herd of deer.
Deer after deer after deer after deer.
Yep, just a big herd came right through our camp. Didn't even mind that we were there.
Yeah, when the one brushed up against the tent, I was right by the side of the tent. My face was right there where it brushed up. And I yelled at it, "Chaka!" And it scared the crap out of Jenny. And once we, got our senses back and everything, Jenny's like, "Where did Chaka come from?" I'm like, "I don't know. I had to say something though."
Yeah, he screams, "Chaka!" Like, what the heck? Don't be screaming things out in the middle of the night. You're gonna give him a heart attack.
Something brushed up against the tent right by my face. I had to say something to get it away from me. The first thing that comes to your mind is, like a bear brushing right there. That's like, the tent means nothing to his claws. He can claw my face off right there. But of course we're out Bigfooting, so Bigfooting's on the brain, even though my worst fear is bear. Chaka comes out. I'm yelling at him, "Chaka!"
Oh, heck.
Yeah, that was a funny night.
It was scary, because it wasn't funny until we got home and saw what was on the game cams.
Well, that night also started out the way those hunters' story goes.
Yeah.
It started raining and thunderstorm, and we had a pretty good thunderstorm that come through that was more growl than bites.
Lots of flashing lightning.
It didn't rain very much or very hard, but we had the lightning and the thunder, and that's what was going on with them, except for they had a lot of rain with their storm. That's how his story goes.
Yeah, there was so much lightning, it was frightening. It lit up the whole inside of the tent like you just turned on the lights.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
And then you're tent camping, and you hear about those isolated events every once in a while where someone camping in a tent, they get zapped. The tree that's You know, the nearest tree to them gets hit by lightning, and the lightning goes right down into the roots and shocks anybody that's, you know, laying on the ground above the roots. So that's the kind of stuff that goes through my head is it's going to hit the tree next to us, and then the roots are going to zap us. Yeah, we were tent camping on that expedition. So you guys are getting a taste of what it's like to drive into one of the most remote. I'm sure there's a lot of areas in the lower 48 that argue that they're the most remote. So I don't know. I haven't done my research. I'm just going off of what several articles I've read about the place say. But it is a long ways from the closest city. Twin Falls, Idaho is the closest city from here. And it still takes about 3.5 hours to drive from Twin Falls into Jarbidge. And you guys can go look at all the Google Maps and all that, and I don't care what they say, it takes about 3.5 hours to get here from Twin Falls, just from my own personal experience.
Don't follow your GPS machine on the way in here, because it will not take you from Twin Falls into Jarbidge. It will redirect you clear out to Elko and then in from a different direction.
Yes, and that's only a seasonal road. The people that had to survive out here near Jarbidge, actually one of them perished, and the woman survived out here for like 4 months in the wintertime.
4 weeks.
Oh, 4 weeks. The woman that had to survive here 4 weeks in the wintertime, she said that their GPS got them lost coming through the area.
I believe it.
So, yeah, Jenny and I have learned from experience on all these Bigfoot expeditions is you need to have some good maps of the area. You need to plot out your course, even if you're using a GPS, because GPS's screw up, they're not foolproof, and they will get you lost and in a survival situation at some point. I mean, they're an awesome tool, they're a lifesaver. You know, they generally 90% of the time get you to where you're going, and they're very helpful, but you need some handheld maps because your GPS isn't going to be right all the time. Especially
when there's dirt roads involved.
Yeah, you need to plot your course before you go, and if you see your GPS is messed up and leading you off, I mean, they don't have the intelligence of foresight. They'll take you off on some tangent and bring you in from a different way, and a lot of times these roads that are seasonal, they're not seasonal because someone shuts them down. They're seasonal because there's snow and mud, and you can't pass them for several months out of the year. So you never hit any of these gates that say, you know, closed from such and such month to such and such month. It's closed because you hit snow and ice and mud that's impassable.
We've been up here when we've tried to get up top, and we've been stopped by a 6-foot tall snowbank.
The way in from Elko.
It's deep up there. You don't expect there to be deep snow in Nevada, but I mean, we're looking at mountaintops right through this little canyon right here, where there is still snow. It is the 2nd week of July, and there is still snow here.
Yeah, Jenny and I are interested in survival. You know, we research survival. We practice some survival, like having emergency items on it in our packs and stuff when we go hiking, and, you know, kind of prepare for it and think about it, because that's one of the dangers of our Bigfoot organization, is ending up in a survival situation. You know, we watch the survivor shows to get tips and learn different things from the survivalists. And we prepare for a survival situation, but we hope we don't ever have to end up in one.
Yeah, I don't know if this cam is picking up the mountain, the farthest mountain in the background, but if it is, you can see that there's still snow up on those tops up there on the peaks.
Right. Do a lot of research on an area before we go in the first time. So I read dozens of articles about this area before we came in. We came in what everybody suggests is the best route possible, a route that's usually open year-round. Usually, I say. The plow, you know, in the wintertime after a storm, the plow has to have come through. If it hasn't, there's a possibility that you could get stuck. So
even if a plow does plow a dirt road, you don't want to be coming in here in a car.
No.
You want to be in a truck with chains.
And four-wheel drive. Yeah, there's a lot of cool rock formations in here.
Not the big old caves.
Yeah, this place is riddled with caves. For those of you that think Bigfoot may dwell in caves, this place is riddled with caves, and makes sense that Bigfoot may live here. As also, some of the Shoshone legends of this area, a lot of their legends say that the Cannibal Giants live in caves in this area, so
that would make sense to me, because it gets so hot here, and
it also gets so cold.
And if you've ever stepped inside a cave in the middle of the summer, it actually feels chilly inside of a cave. It feels great.
Yeah, most caves stay about the same temperature year round, so in the summertime it keeps you cool, and in the wintertime it keeps you from freezing. You know, people, you know, some of these caves that stay close to 45 degrees year round, I mean, that sounds cold, but it's so nice when it's 90 outside. And then in the wintertime, when it's negative 20, 45 seems like a heat wave.
Yep. You can survive in 45 degree weather sleeping in your clothes, as long as you don't get wet.
Uh-huh.
So that...
And then if you do have you know, some type of a bedroll, some furs or whatever, or you have a fur-covered body or thick hair or whatever, you know,
yep.
A body covered in hair like a Bigfoot, 45 would seem great.
Yep.
So, I don't know, there may be some truth behind the legends of the Cannibal Giants or the Bigfoot living in caves back here.
I mean, even if they don't necessarily live there, I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't use them from time to time.
I'm sure they do.
I mean, even if they are an animal on the move all the time, doesn't mean they can't hold up in one once in a while when there's bad weather.
There's so many mammals that use caves, and they're usually predators, like mountain lions and bears will use caves. Bears will make their own caves sometimes. They'll dig a den, so...
Yeah, any animal that actually has the physical capability to dig a den will use it.
I agree.
Hooved animals won't use them because they don't have the body to be able to be equipped to even make themselves one. But anything with
Hooved animals are prey, and they want to be out in the open where they have a chance to run.
Yep. We are going to be staying here for the next couple of days, looking around, switching out our game camps,
Looking for Bigfoot or Cannibal Giants. To Tsawhawbitts. By the way, if you guys have watched any of our Jarbidge videos or any of our Jarbidge Roundtable drives, this is new footage. This is the first time of us showing you part of the drive on the way into Jarbidge from the Idaho border. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, we just wanted to be able to show you guys the way in because, I mean, it is just neat out here.
Yes, it's only been about 6 months since we decided that we should always have a camera rolling in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. So you guys are probably going to see a lot more of these roundtable drives. I hope you like them. If you don't, we got other videos that you may or may not like. I thought they would be pretty interesting anyway. A lot of people will watch podcasts where the people are just sitting at home talking about Bigfoot, but we're taking you guys to the places that people claim to see Bigfoot for hundreds of years, and even recently, as in the case of where we're going now. So
it's more interesting to look at.
Yeah, you guys can see exactly what we're discussing and talking about. Jarbidge, Nevada.
Instead of just looking at our bugs.
Yeah, exactly.
You can look at nature instead of us.
We do podcasts once in a while, but this is the way we like to do our podcasts, is out in the field, letting you guys see what we see, experiencing some of our experiences. We can't have a camera going constantly, but when it makes sense, we'll have a camera rolling and you guys can experience what we're experiencing in a Bigfoot sighting location.
Yeah, we usually only do podcasts in the middle of the winter when we can't actually get out to most places.
Yeah, we do a small handful of podcasts every year, but these roundtable drives, we do a lot of them. We usually go on more than 30 Bigfoot expeditions a year, so inevitably we could probably put out 30 or more of these podcasts a year, or these driving roundtables.
Gentleman who got harassed by the Bigfoot in the story that we heard about. The first night they were there, the Bigfoot gave them a real hard time. Scared the life out of them enough for them to pick up their camp and leave. And the second night, well, actually, a couple more times, while they were in the area, they saw the same creatures. But they didn't ever harass them as much as that first night when they were camped up on the mountain.
Now, the very first night that it scared them out of camp, it was throwing firewood at their tents. It was actually a tarp tent that they built on a trailer, on a flatbed trailer. It was throwing firewood at it, and they claimed that one of them actually peed on the tarp right above where one of them was sleeping, and just
it urinated on him.
But ended up they bolted for the vehicle, and they left for the rest of the night and come back in the morning to get all their stuff. And
Continue 5.4 miles on 3 Creek Road.
try and keep the windows clean for you. I scrubbed my windows twice today before we headed out here. Now all I have is windshield wiper fluid.
For how hot it is, I'm surprised how
according to forecast, we may get some rain tonight or tomorrow. I'm praying for it.
I know.
To cool it down. And then when those guys had their Bigfoot sightings, it was raining, so. Amazing how mountains will catch moisture. I was thinking between Twin Falls and Elko, Nevada. Yeah, right. And then we get back in here and there's a mountain range with snow caps on it.
And you can see all the trees and the wilderness. I mean, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a nestled little spot.
It's a giant oasis that springs out from close to the desert.
It's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
If you don't mind having a bunch of stores and things at your fingertips, it'd be a nice place to live.
About not having?
That's what I said, if you don't mind not having.
I don't know if the camera picked it up, but there was a dead snake on the road.
Ew.
Back there. Looked like a garter snake. Garter snakes are non-venomous.
I don't know how many people have actually held a snake, but they are just smooth and silky. They're just the neatest animal. I guess they're not they're a reptile, whatever. But
they're an animal.
It's not
they're not a mammal, they're
some people who
reptile.
Don't like snakes or are afraid of snakes or never held a snake think they look slimy. They're not slimy at all. They're smooth and silky.
I've touched a lot of snakes. I just haven't touched any venomous ones and don't want to.
No.
I've never touched a rattler. I've stood right next to a couple of rattlers when I was in Spanish Fork as a kid on a deer hunt. Another group of people that were back in there with us, they killed a rattler that was about 5 feet long. And then one time when I was on Francis Peak, I had a rental truck. Well, my vehicle was being worked on, and we ran out of gas. The gas gauge was broke on the vehicle we were renting. And anyway, there was a giant rattlesnake right outside the truck. We sat in the truck for about an hour waiting for it to go away. Yep, we went to get out, and I saw, and this is the biggest rattlesnake I've ever saw firsthand. I mean, he was just big and thick, and I jumped back in the truck, and I'm yelling at everybody, "There's a rattlesnake!" And everybody did the same thing I did. They all jumped in. Nobody wanted to go try and chase it off. We just waited for it to go away. Yeah, we lucked out that day. Not very many people. Francis Peak doesn't get that much traffic. At least back then it didn't. And we're like, oh crap, what are we gonna do? You know, our vehicle we thought it was just broke down. We didn't realize it was out of gas. Didn't know the gas gauge was broke at that point. And there were some random guys on vacation here from Oregon that showed up and gave us a ride off the mountain. And we come back up and got the truck the next day. But
Where's Francis Peak at?
in Farmington, or out
I'm
near
just saying
Farmington?
they don't know a lot.
Oh, it's in Utah.
Okay.
We're getting close to the little town of Jarbidge. There's just a handful of people that live in Jarbidge year round, but this time of year, fishermen and hunters kind of create a little tourist industry here. Well, they come in and people that like their ATVs and so forth, so. This little town of Jarbidge is famous. In my opinion, it's famous. It sprung up because of a gold rush that come into the area. So this little town sprung up while they mined and everything, and it's nothing like it was back in the day, but what keeps the town alive is the hunting, fishermen, and outdoors people keep this town going. And it's a little dirt road town with just a handful of buildings and a little store, a little bar. Yeah, in their story, they didn't name the town that they drove back to after their Bigfoot encounter, but they said it was the closest town.
And this is the only town.
Yeah, so I'm thinking they come down to Jarbidge and stayed in their truck in town till morning, and then went back and relocated their camp to a paid campground. And there's just a handful of paid campgrounds back here, like 4 or 5. So.
Oh, they're free.
Oh, that's right. It's not a paid campground.
It's just a.
It's a Forest Service type campground. They maintain it.
Yes, it's a maintained campground with fire pits and picnic tables.
Right.
There's a museum in town that you can go in and see what the town used to look like. It's got all of these historical photos. It's just really neat. So if you actually make it out here, make sure you make it into the museum so that you can see what the town used to look like, because there was a big fire and all the buildings burnt down.
Yeah, most of the town burnt down on that one, I believe.
Yeah, all the big buildings from the mining town.
Well, there's some of the buildings that you see, sides of the buildings that are scorched. Some of the buildings that remain, you can see where they survived the fire and got scorched way back when.
Yeah, but that museum has some really interesting photos in it. And there's a cafe in town, and they do a really good job in there as well. Even if you just want to stop and get some ice cream.
Yeah, that's right. They do make their own ice cream there.
We're pulling into town.
This is what the tiny little town of Jarbidge looks like. It is a tourist location for a select few. I'm sure it's turning into a Bigfoot tourist location after the reports that have come out of here. Starting with the Shoshone Indians and then the recent sightings. Hey, that's my old truck. Used to have a truck same year and everything is that. There's this Tsawhawbitts ranch. Jenny and I have been to that ranch. We ate breakfast there 1 year. The owners are really nice people. There's the old jail off to our right.
And the one and only trading post.
Yep, that's their store right next to the jail. Their only store.
If you need something, that's where you get it.
Yeah. If you step back in time coming here. We're getting close to the museum on our right, and on our left is the saloon and the restaurants.
Yep, this is the big center of town right here.
It's the big city.
Big city. Oh, and the gift shop. The museum, the gift shop, and the cafe.
Right. Our way to the general location where these hunters had their Bigfoot sighting. Hope you guys didn't blink or you would have missed the town of Jarbidge. Not very many people camp back here every time we've been here. Every campground we've been through, nobody's been camping in them. serviced our cameras. Now we're just looking for our campsites where we'll be camping on this expedition. And of course, I told you earlier, watch all the way to the end. We'll include what's on those game cameras at the end of this. Looks like Derek's Suburban. Oh, it's a GMC, just like his Suburban.
Looks like maybe some of those storm clouds are rolling in.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it rained. In the direction those hunters claim they were harassed by Bigfoot.
This is the part of the road that isn't serviced and is seasonal. That is a steep drop off, and it is far.
Straight down?
Yep. Oh, it's not so bad right here.
Rain over there.
Yeah.
Yes, please come this way.
Well, right above you, which I can see through the sunroof, is big, huge, dark purple clouds. There's blue in front of us, a couple off to the side. It's coming. It'll be nice because it'll bring the animals out.
Yeah, they become active.
There's a lot of elk up here and deer.
I don't care what anyone says, I've seen moose tracks here too.
There's no moose in the Yeah, there is.
Well, these guys actually keep their clocks on Idaho time. They're so close to the border.
Yeah.
And the major cities that they get their supplies from is Twin Falls, It's closer to here than any Nevada city, so even though they're in Nevada, they live by Idaho's time.
There is a way here from Nevada, but like we said, we're on the road.
And it's seasonal.
Good luck. Good luck getting here.
Yeah, good luck until the middle of July. And then after the end of October, you're taking your chances again.
Yep. So basically, it's Idaho.
Look at all those pinnacles.
It's just beautiful.
The spring flowers are starting to wilt. They need the rain.
Yeah, if the flowers are still out, that means it just, I mean, they just came up like a week or two ago, maybe. Yeah, the purple one that I saw. The rest of the mountaintop didn't let me know that it just ended. I don't know, nice sprinkle, I guess.
Very close to where we're going to be camping for this expedition. We picked up the cameras, so we'll have to see what's on them on the SD card. Make sure you watch all the way to the end so you can see what we got during the last year here. Keep on watching, we're going to keep on squatching.